One, two,
This is the Business 901 podcast, where you will find many of the leading edge thinkers in the world of continuous improvement, lean, service design, and sales and marketing. The podcast is sponsored by the Lean Marketing Lab, a learning community dedicated to developing and improving the user experience. Now, to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone. This is Joe Dager, the host of the Business 901 podcast. With me today is Bob Petruska. Bob is a well-known consultant and author of Gimbal Walks for Service Excellence. An international presenter, Bob is best known for helping teams make business impacts fast. He has a way of transitioning from ideas to practice that are really unlike anyone else in the industry. I noticed that you were going to be putting on a workshop at the AME Jacksonville 2014, coming up in, I think it's November 10th through the 14th. Great topic that you're going to run your pizza game that you created.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's an honor to be selected by AME to do this workshop, and you know, the pizza game is really fun because it gets people up out of their seats and doing and actually running a factory on a tabletop.
It's not a workshop where I get to listen to you. This is going to be a real hands-on experience.
Right. The main part of this is the experiential piece. What I want people to walk away with is see step change happen firsthand, or haikaku, right? I want them to participate and witness in the whole scale change adoption and just see how we backed into making change stick without going through all the different steps that you normally would have to go through to make change happen. And then finally, I want people to understand and leave with the key tools in order to run the pizza game themselves in their own organization so that they can take the ideas and help others learn from it.
So this is really being able to transfer the knowledge they get in your session and really take something that's doable that they can transfer, you know, I'll repeat myself, but transfer the knowledge within their organization also.
Yeah, you know, I woke up one day and I said, what's important in life, right? And I came up with a list. And one of the things on the list, besides friendship and family and all those things, was making a difference, making an impact. And I think what we're doing is making an impact. The more we can spread the ideas, the simple ways, the easy way to get results, measurable results, I think that's what matters. And if I can share what I've learned and what I've created with other people, and they can take that in their organizations, imagine the impact that's having. It's all positive, it's all good, and that's what I'm really all about.
When you're using the pizza game and I take it back home with me to my organization, is it just a structured game that I show other people how to find waste, or can I relate it to things that I'm actually doing at my facility?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have always been focusing on taking the ideas from the pizza game and applying them to your situation. What we do is we say we want to get you out of the weeds, right? We want to get you up elevated to the 20,000 foot point of view where you can see what's really happening from a macro standpoint. And then you can identify the biggest problem or constraint. And I think it's in identifying the biggest constraint is what really is the key to this. Because if you're working on the thing that's causing you the most headache all the time, you will get it. You will improve the process, and I think taking the game back to your home front, you might have to tweak it a little for finance groups or HR, you know, like a recruiting process or something, but it gets people thinking about it. Wow, you know, how do I relate, or how does my process relate in some way to the pizza game? Do we overproduce? And people will, in it doesn't matter what industry they're in, they're like, oh yeah, we do that. And that's the connection I want to make, the aha moment.
The one complaint I hear about going to conferences and conference attendees is that, gee, we go to these conferences, we learn this, but then when we take them back, nobody lets us implement them. Okay, or nobody lets us move forward with them. Okay, and it's kind of like, why did we go? Okay, and they're very honest and frank about that. Is this a good way to get your boss and other people involved? I mean, does this allow everybody to participate when you take it back to your place?
Yeah, I think it will help that. I know that there's a piece in there that has to do with, if you're stuck in a situation where you're not allowed to try anything different. That's a, condition of the environment you're working in. That's going to be tough no matter what. Okay, so let's be frank about that. If you're working in a situation where your boss says, I want you to go to a conference, but don't try and implement anything when you come back, well, you're going to be dealing with an uphill battle, and you have to work on it. Okay, can I do a skunk works where, do it on the side or on the sly, or get his permission or her permission to do an experiment somewhere? That's what I always tell people, is do it like an experiment. Hey, I want to do a lunch and learn on Thursday and share what I learned at the conference, and invite people. You don't force them, you invite them. You might want to treat them to a sandwich or something, right, to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit, so they get a free lunch out of it. But that's maybe the way you would approach it if you're dealing in an environment where you're told, hey, you really can't implement anything here. And by the way, I would struggle with that. I would want to change that situation myself, or I would want to consider different options. Employment elsewhere, for example, would be one of them I would consider. So,
can you explain what the pizza game is? What am I going to come and do at your workshop?
Right. So game itself will teach you about the work balance stack charts, where you're going to understand how to really look at an entire system. You'll play a game, there's different roles, and I intentionally make there to be a bottleneck. I goof people up intentionally, and they know it, and they're kind of cussing me, Bob, why are you doing this to me? But they know, and they get it, and they understand it, and then we open up the door for innovation and improvement through the hacker's way and try-storming. And we're really after is letting people witness and experience step change that day. We want them to see what it takes to make change happen with whatever junk I might have brought in then I threw in the trunk of my car, and I brought out there, and they say, you can use anything in here to improve the game and make it better. And they do. And then the idea of the work balance charts, that helps them to understand how many people they need, for example, and how they can redeploy. And then, of course, we talk about some of the tools, and they will learn the value stream mapping process in the game. So they'll be able to walk away with hands-on value stream mapping expertise. They'll be able to do that as well.
So what's the pizza part of it? Okay.
Well, it's just a catchy name. We were making pizzas, and I was like, I wanted to teach lean to a group of logistics professionals. And my boss came to me Thursday before I was leaving. I was going to a different city. It was like 3-hour drive or something. And he came to me and he said, I know you're going up there on Monday, and I want to challenge you. Come up with a way to teach lean, the counterintuitive side of lean, to people who have not really done lean. And man, I lost a lot of sleep that weekend. And what came out of it was the pizza game. I said, well, if I can't really teach them like a lecture, can I teach them in a way that they actually learn it by doing? And for me, that's what came out of the pizza game. That was the aha moment for me, was a real stretch assignment that forced me to use all the different skills that I have to come up with this thing.
But why pizza?
Well, it sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, we all look forward to a slice of pizza, and when you play the game, there's no pizza involved. You got to kind of, use your imagination. Okay, these are pizzas that are coming down an oven and they're falling off and they're doing this and we're overproducing here and our balance, we don't have the jobs balanced, whereas some person is just standing there pretty much the whole game that we're playing. They don't do anything and they're wondering, well, why don't I have more to do? And they look for something to do, and of course I slap them and say, no, you've been trained and you've been signed off on your work instruction. What your job is. You can't innovate the first time, and it frustrates them. And then I unleash that energy to a future state later, and that's what really happens.
One of the things that I think is a trademark of all your workshops, because I've been around them a few times and watched you work, is the report out, and I think that is such a powerful part of your workshops. Can you explain that a little bit? And is there a report out in the pizza game?
The idea of report out is that there is not learning unless people reflect on what it is that they just did. And so report out has to do with what we call focused conversation, or the art of focused conversations. And these focused conversations are things that we focus on ORID model, which is objective, reflective, interpretive, and decisional. Basically, we're saying what just happened, all right? What does your gut tell you? So what? Tell me so what, and then now what? And it's the now what we want to get to. What are you going to do? How are you going to take this forward? And we want people to kind of assimilate all those things together and unleash the wisdom in the room by doing the report out.
At the convention, your workshop is, I believe, on Friday, is it not?
Yes, it is. I think Friday. I don't know the exact time, but
I do. It's at 8 a.m.
Oh, I'm at 8 a.m. Thanks for checking. At the time I last checked, they didn't have the time down for me, but I knew it was on Friday.
Now, would you recommend for a company to send multiple individuals to this, or should they work together, or would you separate them out into different groups during this process?
I would encourage a company to bring several people with, and they could certainly work as a team. I would have no trouble with that. But most of the time, we just let people choose which side of the game they want to play on. Usually, I run 2 of them with a group around 25 people so that everyone has a role and everyone gets their hands on it, because that's where it's fun, and then you get competitions between the 2 teams that one wants to outdo the other when they get to the tri-storming and the, hacker's way, where they use all that method.
Okay, is this something that applies to just manufacturing and supply chain, or can this be used from a service standpoint?
When you look at service, it's slightly different, but I think that the general approach, the general idea of this will work in both manufacturing, office, and service. I've certainly used this game to explain the idea and concept of lean, the 8 ways, that type of thing in all different kinds of settings. So in a service environment, we would ask people, okay, what is your customer wanting, and how are you dealing with your customers, and where are you falling short in these areas? And we look at building those relationships between the people. So one of the big ahas for me in watching the pizza game is how much the teams own the outcome. And I think that's really what we're after all along, is we want ownership. We want accountability to happen. We want people to feel like they have skin in the game. They want this to succeed. Because if you have people that want something to succeed, you're pretty well guaranteed that they're going to learn and they're going to adapt to the changing environment and deliver that service to the customer.
Well, I think there's even a YouTube video on the pizza game that you've put up before.
Yeah, I have a few things out there where I've showed some of the different players going through this, as well as some of the many times I've delivered it. So there's a YouTube, and then there's a presentation that you can download as well. So
Now, your YouTube channel, you have a lot of different things, and you highlight the different conferences and the different workshops you put on it. Where do I find the YouTube video? Is it under Bob Petruska, or where would I find that?
You would look for Bob Petruska, do a search for Bob Petruska Pizza Game on YouTube, and it should show up there.
Okay. What other things are upcoming for you besides AME? What else are you up to, Bob?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I'm this week I'm actually participating in Queen City Forward, which is a nonprofit group here in Charlotte, and they're doing a food think unconference, and I'll be facilitating design thinking or human-centered thinking and social entrepreneurship. And so I'll be facilitating a group there, which will be pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to that. That's this week. And other than that, next year I'm looking at presenting at the Industry Week. So the Best Plants is coming to Charlotte in May. And one of the organizers there, Greg Flickinger, asked me to consider giving a presentation or a workshop. And so I'm looking at that. And there could be some others as well. For example, we're doing a Gemba Walk at TE Connectivity in October, and that Gemba Walk is going to be outstanding because this is one of their best plants in the world, and they're looking for ideas to make it better from us. So we're bringing in our consortia members, people that care about continuous improvement in Charlotte, and we're opening the doors to TE Connectivity to do a Gemba Walk, a rattlesnake hunt, and we'll look at 2 centers of excellence as well, pull systems and layered audits.
What's the best way for someone to contact you and get a hold of you?
Well, my website is bobpetruska.com, or you can send me an email at bob@bobpetruska.com, or you can just pick up the phone and call me 704-615-3731. If you have any questions or just want to talk or pick my brain or just make a friend, it would be great.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you very much, Bob. This podcast will be available on the Business 901 iTunes Store and the Business 901 website. So thanks again, Bob.
Sure, Joe. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Visit us at theleanmarketinglab.com.